John Doe is an anonymous source. He's writing to an editor at the Süddeutsche Zeitung newspaper. He then delivers the data. It's about offshore companies set up by the law firm Mossack Fonseca in Panama. Companies with links to rich customers who are hiding their money.
Als es so Richtung 100 Gigabyte ging, haben wir verstanden, dass daraus echt große Geschichten werden. Und als es mehr als 1 Terabyte war, haben wir verstanden, dass sehr viele, sehr große Geschichten darin stecken.
Und natürlich stieg die Aufregung und das Leuchten, glaube ich, in unseren Augen, als wir gemerkt haben, da ist auch nicht nur eine Spur zu einem Staatschef drin, auch nicht zu zweien, sondern zu Dutzenden Staatschefs. Das ist ein Projekt, wo es Geschichten zu jedem Kontinent gibt.
Tonight at 10, confidential documents leaked from a law firm in Panama.
140 políticos y cargos públicos de todo el mundo.
Nach Enthüllungen über tausende Briefkastenfirmen in Panama. Die Staatsanwaltschaft des mittelamerikanischen Landes hat inzwischen Ermittlungen eingeleitet.
A leak of over 11 million documents.
Að máli snerti hann og ríkisstjórnina meira en umræðan gaf til kynna.
Panama Papers. Aus dem Schattenreich geheimer Firmen und verborgener Vermögen.
Här visar en läcka från en advokatfirma i Panama.
Unter ihnen Staatschefs, Sportstars und Kriminelle.
Das größte Datenleck, das jemals von Journalisten ausgewertet wurde.
An entire year passed between the first message from the source and the publication of the data. There was one condition. The reporting should not just be published in German, but also in English, by international media outlets. The amount of data is anyway far too vast for anybody to do it alone. It is so huge that a journalist could spend an entire lifetime reviewing the contents of the leak. The Süddeutsche Zeitung decided to share the documents with the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ.
What we do have here, as you may have realized today, is the biggest collaboration of investigative journalists. Today here are 100 journalists gathered together. We are not the whole team.
Hi, my name is Yu Zhang and I'm from the Korea Center for Investigation.
Hi, my name is Mar.
We're a news organization called ProPublica.
In the end, close to 400 journalists from 70 different countries reviewed the data.
6 people.
In Iceland, only one journalist has access to the data. He wants no one to find out about his research, but he fears his neighbors might be able to peer into his living room or office during the dark Icelandic winter. Johannes Kristjansson is a well-known television journalist in Iceland.
It's hard to investigate a story like this in Iceland because it's a small society and everybody knows everybody. So I have to be alone in this.
330,000 people live in Iceland, and he found around 600 of them in the data.
Well, the biggest one is the Prime Minister. Here we have the directors of the company, some Panaman people. And here we have the couple, the Prime Minister and his wife. They're the company called Wintris. They bought it in 2007. Mr. Gunnlaugsson, the Prime Minister, he was elected to the Parliament in April 2009.
He later sold his stake to his wife for $1. Yet the firm holds millions of euros in shares in the country's biggest banks. The Prime Minister, though, has kept Parliament in the dark about his offshore business and the conflict of interest.
I'm not getting any salaries for this work yet, but I think it's so important to get those information out because this data tells the story of what happened behind the curtain, with all the money, with all the rich people, with all the big players in the banking crisis.
Almost every citizen of Iceland was hit by the banking crisis of 2008. Virtually all lost money. Many lost their homes, others lost jobs. Greedy bankers and entrepreneurs had been manipulating the market for years, in part with the help of offshore companies. This continued until the banks collapsed. The investigations and cleanup that followed lasted for years. Some bankers were sent to prison. In the data, Johannes has found links to the banking crisis. It also links wealthy Icelanders, politicians and bank executives with Mossack Fonseca's offshore companies. They are highly complex structures designed to hide money through Luxembourg, Panama and other tax havens.
This is the biggest story I have worked on. When the last package of data came to the database, I was in a summer house with my family. I got an email with the update news. I think the clock was 1 a.m. and I went on the platform we used for connections, and I found this list from the Mossack Fonseca company. I had my computer in bed, and then I saw the name of the finance minister and the interior minister, and I just got some adrenaline kick, and I went to the living room, and I was working until 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like that. You will get addicted to find stuff in there because it's so secret, but you have all the access.
His view of his country has changed, but he can't even talk about it with his friends.
Iceland is such a small country. I have a friend that is the best friend of the Prime Minister. You know some person that knows some person that knows the Prime Minister. So the most important thing for me is to hold the data for myself and not tell anybody about it.
New keycard locks have been installed in the Süddeutsche Zeitung's research room. Only 5 employees have access. The hard drives are locked in the safe. They contain 11.5 million documents from Mossack Fonseca. The data includes internal emails, contracts, bank statements. The journalists were able to search through the data globally using an ICIJ search engine.
Leider ist jedes einzelne Thema wahnsinnig mühsam, weil es ja immer eine Struktur da ist, die Sachen verschleiern soll. Und weil man in jedem einzelnen Thema wieder rangehen muss und wieder suchen muss, was verbirgt sich denn ganz genau dahinter? Können wir wirklich nachweisen, dass die Gelder an den späteren Eigentümer gehen? Können wir wirklich nachweisen, was sie mit diesen Firmen gemacht haben?
In one email, a Mossack Fonseca employee writes that he has no problem accepting Assad-sanctioned cousin Rami Makhlouf as a customer. They dismissed him much later. An additional find, the contract for an offshore company belonging to global football star Lionel Messi and his father. Messi denies having used the company to conceal anything.
Wir reden die ganze Zeit über Steuerhinterziehung, wie viel Deutschland, der EU, anderen Ländern durch die Lappen geht. Aber dass das nur ein ganz kleiner Teil eigentlich von dem Problem ist, dass es eigentlich hier darum geht, wie Kriminelle geschützt werden, wie Terroristen und deren Finanzströme aufrechterhalten werden. Dass es darum geht, dass Betrüger ihr Geschäft weitermachen, dass Diktatoren ihr Land weiter ausbeuten können.
Und diese diese Welt, diese Parallelwelt ist eine Welt, in die niemand Einblick hat. Weder Regierungsstellen noch irgendwie FBI oder CIA oder wer auch immer. Das ist eine Welt, die ist einfach hermetisch geschlossen. Und wir haben die unglaubliche Möglichkeit, da reinzuschauen. Und zwar fast eine Viertelmillion Firmen, die alle dazu gedacht sind, Sachen zu verstecken.
The hiding places are located all around the world. In Africa, 30 journalists are investigating. They have uncovered trails leading to politicians and to some of the biggest cases of corruption on their continent. Moma Nyang is one of the few investigative reporters working in Senegal.
Mais je suis à peu près certain, par prémonition, je me dis que les plus grands scandales qui vont apparaître vont certainement être, à coup sûr, vont venir d'Afrique. Là où il y a le diamant, là où il y a le pétrole, là où il y a l'or et tout. Et que aussi, cette transparence nécessaire qui doit gouverner l'action publique n'est pas forcément au rendez-vous. Voilà. Quelque part aussi, ça va donner encore du grain à moudre à l'opinion.
He found links in the data to Karim Wade, the former Minister for Infrastructure and son of the former president. His arrest 3 years ago for embezzlement and corruption attracted considerable attention. His closest friend appears in the Panama Papers with links to offshore companies. It's a typical pattern of concealment. Moma is reporting on this and other cases in West Africa for ZAPP. His editor-in-chief founded the online magazine 10 years ago in order to publish deeply reported stories. It's a rarity in the region.
Ils nous ont approchés, ils nous ont dit qu'ils étaient sur un grand projet. Je crois que quelqu'un a recommandé ZAPP à ICIG. Ils nous ont dit, on vous a recommandé, est-ce que ça vous intéresse? On s'est dit, oui, ça peut nous intéresser. À partir du moment où les problèmes qu'ils évoquaient, il y avait des pays africains qui étaient concernés et que nous pensons avoir la connaissance, la compréhension du contexte ouest-africain, on s'est dit, pourquoi pas? Et c'est comme ça qu'on s'est lancé.
Establishing access to the database is difficult at the moment, because the internet connection is still pretty bad. The editorial team recently moved into a new office. ZAPP is hoping that local radio stations will jump in and begin reporting once the revelations are published. In a country with a high rate of illiteracy, that's the best way to ensure that the news gets out. ICIJ is based in Washington. It's financed through donations. Marina Walker coordinates the close to 400 journalists working on the Panama Papers team.
A lot of our work, and I always say this about investigative journalism, that is not all that glamorous. We do a lot of boring, tedious, slow work, but it's that boring, tedious, and slow work that I think makes big things happen. We need months of research, of fact-checking, of really digging into these more than 8 million files in order to make sense, in order to find those stories of public interest that are going to make an impact on society.
Journalists around the world can log into the platform using a double password. It is here that they share their findings. Journalists from more than 100 media organizations are working on the project, including reporters from the BBC, The Guardian, NDR, Le Monde in France, and freelance reporters from Venezuela and the Philippines.
We create a virtual newsroom, which is called the Global iHub, and is open source, but is tailored to our needs. And it's basically like a social media wall. It's like a Facebook wall, or the Facebook of investigative journalism, only that it's secure, and only the people working on our project are allowed in this space.
Marina Walker and her colleagues determine the publication date. No partner is allowed to run the stories before the others. ICIJ established its international reputation with projects like Offshore Leaks, LuxLeaks and Swiss Leaks. The principle behind the reporting is always the same. They call it radical sharing.
I mean, I am old-fashioned reporter. I, have spent most of my career not sharing, not even with my editors, because you know that as soon as you tell an editor what a story is, they want it the next day. So to get out of that mindset has been very difficult for me in the first place. But then to have all these lone wolf investigative reporters do it is kind of, it is hard. What we've found is that we're able to show them that they get a better result this way.
The number of journalists and the sheer amount of data involved in the Panama Papers project mean it's basically a carefully calibrated scoop. But
many things can go wrong at this point. Someone might find out we have the material. We could face some legal challenges before we've had a chance to really digest everything and work out what questions we need to ask. With so many reporters involved, your risk and your security issues go up. Every time you invite one person on board, it increases the risk for everyone else.
Sometimes I go up there and stop the car and have a smoke and to think about all the stuff I'm working on.
He has also discovered that a small country has the highest density of offshore company owners.
And then I have found some friends. Friends of a friend and friends of my wife. And actually I've talked to my wife about, what about this? I found this guy or this woman there. She's your friend, and I have to publish everything.
His only person of trust is his wife. She also works from home as a bookkeeper.
And I hope that if some names will come up that are related to me, that they won't judge me of his work, but I'm not sure that it can be separated. That's why it's kind of pressure. It's hard. I'm working for both of us at the meantime, but I think that at the end it will help us. In a way that it will help the society, everyone, that it will get better.
Ich habe wiederholt natürlich gefragt, ob man sich treffen könnte. Habe alles Mögliche versprochen, was man so versprechen kann, ohne die Anonymität zu verletzen. Natürlich auch, dass wir den Namen nicht rausgeben. Und am Ende hat aber die Angst überwogen bei der Quelle, die ja auch wusste, dass der beste Freund von Wladimir Putin da drin ist in den Daten.
For journalists and the political opposition, bringing the truth to light in Russia can be a deadly endeavor. Still, that hasn't stopped Roman Anin from spending the last 8 years reporting on Russian government corruption.
Не говорить там много, а вообще как можно меньше по телефону. Всегда проверять, есть ли за тобой наружное наблюдение. Иметь много-много маршрутов следования от дома, там, из дома до офиса, из офиса домой. То есть не ездить по одному маршруту. И вообще вести довольно-таки аккуратный образ жизни.
When journalist Anna Politkovskaya was murdered, Roman decided to become an investigative journalist like her. and also for the same newspaper, Novaya Gazeta. It is Russia's only truly independent newspaper. The newspaper's journalists have shown courage again and again with their critical reporting on Putin. They have also reported about his alleged wealth, which has never been proven.
Данные, которые мы получили сейчас, они позволили нам ближе всех подойти к ответу на вопрос, а где же деньги Путина. Вот журналисты уже на протяжении 15 лет задаются этим вопросом. А где они, эти деньги? И я считаю, что именно это расследование, оно и позволило нам ближе всех подойти к ответу на этот вопрос.
He found ownership deeds for offshore companies belonging to Vladimir Putin's best friend. Although they arouse suspicion, they are not sufficient to serve as proof. At least not yet. After Roman Anin and ICIJ sent out requests for interviews, the Kremlin began speaking of an attack by the international media. He works together with ICIJ frequently.
Если мне нужно что-то уточнить там в Швейцарии, как это происходит на уровне законодательства, или какие-то документы достать, я просто пишу своему коллеге в Швейцарии и получаю ответы в тот же день. То же самое, если ему нужно что-то получить из России. И безопасность, безусловно, тоже третий аспект, потому что, ну да, человека, которого знают только в его районе, убить легко. Человека, которого знают во всем городе, убить сложнее. Человека, которого знают во всей стране, убить еще сложнее. А человек, которого знают не только в стране, но и в мире, безусловно, у него на 4 левела, да, там безопасность выше.
Roman Anin has already had to leave Russia a few times in order to ensure his safety. Even his wife felt observed because of his work.
Страна немного меняется. И, скажем, сегодня предпочитают предложить тебе взятку, чем тебя убить. И вот с чем я сталкиваюсь каждый день в своей работе, это то, что там нам за каждую историю, чтобы она не была опубликована, предлагают огромные деньги. Я не могу называть историю, но, скажем, рекорд, который был установлен не так давно, составлял $6 миллионов за то, чтобы история не была опубликована. То есть человек, о котором мы писали, предлагал $6 миллионов, чтобы она не вышла, эта история.
He obviously rejected the money, and the article was printed. Although it has a small circulation, Novaya Gazeta is an important newspaper and has won many international journalism prizes.
В России же, сколько бы ты историй не публиковала, какие бы они ни были доказанными и каких бы людей ни касались, это не приводит к никаким изменениям. То есть мы просто к этому должны привыкнуть, и в силу этого мы стали такими жуткими циниками. То есть нам уже, грубо говоря, плевать на результат.
Ich weiß, die Quelle hat einen Vertrauensmensch, einen Anwalt, mit dem sie auch spricht darüber und der sie auch berät, was sie tun soll. Ich habe das Gefühl, sie weiß relativ gut, wie sie sich schützen soll und was sie tun sollte und was sie nicht tun sollte.
Bastian Obermeier and his colleagues are writing more than 40 articles. A book is even in the works about the many big and strange stories in the data. But they will never be able to publish many of the German names they have uncovered.
Na, um jemanden zu nennen, muss der Fall relevant sein und die Person von großem öffentlichem Interesse und es darf nicht nur eine Privatsphäre sein. Oder es muss der starke Verdacht da sein auf eine strafbare Handlung.
One major public figure is the Prime Minister of Iceland. And he has to be given the chance to respond.
I'm excited and I will be glad when this is over because I've been waiting for this time for a long time. To get answers because as journalists you want answers to the questions that have been raised. And I have been thinking about the questions and the whole story about the politicians in Iceland for a long time.
Together with the Swedish journalist, Johannes interviews Prime Minister Sigmundur Gunnlaugsson. The leader isn't aware that the interview will be about his shell company Wintris, and the question as to why he never disclosed it publicly to Parliament, and whether his secret company influenced his policies.
Mr. Prime Minister, what can you tell me about a company called Wintris?
Well, it's a company, if I recall correctly, which is associated with one of the companies that I was on a board of, and had an account, which, as I mentioned, has been with the tax on the tax account since it was established. So now I'm starting to feel a bit strange about these questions, because it's like you are accusing me of something. But
to go into the details, I would like my partner to do it in Icelandic, because I don't have the details to discuss it.
Hann hefur ekki sagt frá því að þú væri tengdur aflandsfélaginu Wintris.
Vegna þess, eins og ég var að lýsa hérna áðan, þetta kemur fram á skattskýrslunum mínu og hefur gert frá upphafi. Það er verið að reyna að gera eitthvað tortryggilegt sem ég hef gefið upp alla tíð.
Þú segir að þú hefur gefið þetta félag upp.
Algjörlega.
Akkur gafst þetta ekki upp í hagsmunaskráningu þingmanna eftir þú varst kjörmann? En hvaða eignir er í félagi? Hvaða eignir er í félagi? Aflandsfélag sem
hvaða atrið ertu að reyna að búa til þetta?
To Johannes, the Prime Minister's indignant response is telling.
Yeah.
He walked away.
He walked away. He could have stayed and answer those questions. He went angry. And he walked away from an interview. That's, I mean, I had to call my wife.
There are now only 3 weeks to go before the planned publication date. The journalist's first written request for a response has been received by Mossack Fonseca. Now close to 20 television journalists want answers. All have requested interviews, and all of those requests have been rejected.
Que no nos van a atender. Yo quiero saber quién le dijo que no nos va a atender. ¿Qué persona? ¿No sabe?
Nobody's coming. Marching over to the headquarters together like this is an unusual experience, even for journalists. Mossack Fonseca will have to respond.
Thank you. Oh, we don't know this individual, nor have we had any association with him. We had a Muammar Gaddafi.
No, this is new. No, this is new.
The law firm claims it had no knowledge of any ties between Rami Makhlouf and Assad.
The guy? Yes.
So we need some more copy.
They've been writing very quickly. FIFA, Mossack Fonseca has had no involvement whatsoever with any of the parties connected with the FIFA scandal. So it doesn't come.
It seems that they didn't answer question by question. They went by country.
Buenas tardes, ¿cómo están?
Hola, buenas tardes.
Carlos Sousa, ¿cómo va todo?
Bien, bien.
Muy bien.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias por bajar.
No, a la orden.
Gracias.
Yo a ustedes les voy a entregar un comunicado, ¿verdad? Creo que ya le hicieron algunos al respecto, entonces para que lo tengan ahí a la mano.
Usted no nos podría, porque estamos en televisión.
Sí, entrevista ahorita no vamos a dar por ahora, no es parte de la política de la empresa.
¿Nos podía comentar sobre la crítica que su empresa está ayudando a la gente a
para nada.
De evasión fiscal?
Nada más quiero que sepan que aquí está claro, está muy claro, nosotros no lavamos dinero, no aceptamos dinero, no tomamos dinero y eso es lo único que les puedo decir.
At this point in time, no one in Panama is aware of the company's data leak. But now the entire world is about to learn of Mossack Fonseca's dealings.
So nett das klingt, Briefkastenfirmen, die wirklich von brutalen Diktatoren genutzt werden, um Gelder rauszuschaffen, aber auch wieder Gelder ranzuschaffen, mit denen sie dann, keine Ahnung, Giftgas kaufen können oder was auch immer sie vorhaben. Und das sind Dinge, die wirklich sehr, sehr, sehr wichtig sind. Und wenn sich da nichts tut, wenn nicht wirklich eine richtige Initiative entwickelt wird weltweit, um diesem Problem Herr zu werden, dann wird sich das auch nicht verändern, weil die Leute werden jetzt von Mossack Fonseca weggehen und werden woanders hingehen. Es gibt ja auch andere Angebote.